Hey there, Adrienne Elise here, just popping in to talk to you about what's going on in the planets and the stars. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for August 12th through 15th, 2019. So we're coming up on a culmination energy as we head into this full moon in Aquarius at 22 degrees Aquarius. Powerful number 22, a master builder number, talking about a gateway, a portal into something new and building something entirely different. And that's the Aquarian age. That's what we're trying to move into. But boy, do we have some stuff to clean up from the past. And we've really been in it, just such an intense, this has been just accelerating more and more karmic cleansing over this last couple of years. And we've come out of a huge chapter of this with that Mercury retrograde at the end degrees of Cancer. Mercury going that third run over the end degrees of Cancer is just wringing out feelings of grief and energies that are holding us in the past. Failure, regrets, like everything. And this could be from like lifetimes and things you have no association with in your present time. They might be triggered by present time, but taking you into a journey, deep subconscious, unknown places where these, yet you have no in the first mantle right now. But the deal is, as quickly in your life, dismantle, program, you feel like you don't know who you are. This is this ego death energy. And we're kind of feeling this right now. And we're moving from those uncomfortable end degrees of Cancer, where it's just kind of like going around and around this last whole year of experience. It's been going around and around back through the eddies of our past, deeper into our subconscious. Now, part of the reason for this is because in our evolution up to this point, we haven't been prepared or had the tools or the support to be able to go to these places, right? So you got to go in layers and levels and what your psyche can handle. And so if you've been going into some really dark depths places, that means you're at the point where you're ready to face that stuff and pull it up by the roots. That's really exciting, actually. And that's what we need to do to prepare for the future. So around this time last year, in August, mostly September of last year, Uranus came into a dance that went on for like 6 months with the nodes of the moon. And that energy had this feeling to it. And that energy is coming up again because Uranus just turned retrograde. And it's interesting though, because it's kind of been this whole year we've been going in circles in the past and then kind of dancing, like flirting with the future, but not really ready to move into the future because there's so much unresolved. And so right now we're at this pinnacle place where exactly this is happening, because yesterday Uranus or Mercury moved back into the sign of Leo, right? So it's completed its retrograde, and then made that final pass through those end degrees of Cancer, and now has moved into Leo. And Jupiter in Sagittarius turned direct, a huge energy. Jupiter has a big amplification, expansive energy, and so when it turns retrograde, or at the time when it turns retrograde or direct, you really feel it. And Jupiter at home in Sagittarius is so excited to move into new territory. And so there's this palpable energy, this excitement, this new territory, right? On the 15th, on the day of this full moon, Mercury comes out of its retrograde shadow, means that it's completed its journey from where it started, and then moving into new territory. And so everything right now is speaking to this newness, and that brings a whole different set of anxieties and the feeling of the unknown, that feeling of being lost without the concepts, precepts, programming, of your personality constructs that have been keeping you stable, right? Like those are falling away. And that's because we're preparing and to shift into something totally new. But that brings its own set of uncomfortable feelings, right? So we're not comfortable in the past, we're not comfortable in the future. We think we want the future, but really when it starts to happen, we get programmed fears just come to the surface. And so here we are in this suspended place. you know, between the past and the future. And it is all about trying to shift into the Aquarian age. And so this full moon in Aquarius is just shining a light on these feelings and these issues and this reality that we are moving into the new, and we got to assimilate. Now, so what's going on right now is a real need to integrate, assimilate, heal, harmonize all of this karmic purging that's happened. It's been just like incredible journey for a lot of souls. And now we have this kind of energy of like, okay, well, if you want to go into the future, you're going to have to integrate these parts of yourself that have been, you know, when we go through these deep emotions and these situations that are coming up from past lives, these are experiences that we've gone through. And a lot of times heavy emotional traumatic experiences that we've gone through have an effect of kind of splitting us into pieces. And a good example of this would be, say, a lifetime where, just take a very clear example of like a woman who was, you know, called a heretic or a witch and burned at the stake, right? And that would be, it's really hard for the soul to stay in a complete form when that happens, because, and it's like you want to cast aside these parts of ourselves. We all have this inside us, right? Because we all have male and female within. So we all have this cast aside, demonized, feminine part of ourselves. And this is also often associated with our intuition and our emotions and our spiritual awareness. And so if we're in pieces and we try to shoot off into the future, you know, then we're going to end up in the wrong direction. And we're going to have to go around again in this repeating cycle, you know, that we're trying to shoot out of. And so right now it's a really important time, and that's part of the energy. I think that might come through the activation. If you're interested in joining that full moon activation, it looks like we're going to be doing some work on this, some integration, some soul retrieval type work, where we're kind of healing up these rifts in our being and putting ourselves back together so that we can go in the right direction. That is also timeline work, you know, bringing ourselves into vibrational frequency with our optimal timeline. So it's a very potent and powerful energy for this new full moon in Aquarius, a culmination of a whole year's worth of dabbling in the past, being stuck in the past, going in circles in the past, and just kind of being scared of the future. So here we are. And now the main energy that's going on that is leading up, and we've felt this all month of August. It's going to go all the way. We're going to feel it through almost to the whole end of August. And it's quite amazing that the sun and Venus are so close together for so long. So the sun and Venus come into an exact conjunction on the day of this full moon, and the day before and the day after, actually. So 3 full days of exact Sun-Venus conjunction for this full moon, which is speaking to this need for integration, bringing back the disenfranchised part of ourselves that have been, we've kind of, in order to survive, we've compensated ourselves into pieces. It has everything to do with that Chiron and Aries energy of wounds around not being true to ourselves, not living a life that's true to who we really are. We've done this for lifetimes. You know, it's like, you can't just undo that, because then you don't know who you are, right? So we gotta, it's like we're jimmying the lock here. And that was all this energy that came through over this last year. It's like a little bit forward, a little bit back, just kind of trying to get it figured out, because we can't just completely drop all of these false contracts, because how do we hold on to our sanity, our mind, or who we are, right? We have to gradually let go of the old constructs and gradually integrate these missing pieces of who we are and come back into wholeness. And so this Venus Sun conjunction is giving us this massive opportunity to rework our identity construct, to be more vibrationally available to these new energies. So yeah, definitely some timeline energy work on this activation. So that's a huge energy. Now, the North Node and Neptune have been very close together. And now the North Node and Neptune are, in a trine. They've been very close in a trine over these last few months, but they're coming back into an exact time, 3 days, and that's exactly right at this full moon in the next couple of days after. And so this is a really powerful energy that can help us understand what's trying to happen here, because Neptune is a ruler of Pisces, at home in Pisces, representing the Piscean age, and it's representing our connection to spirituality, our connection to God, to source, our direct connection, but also how that connection has been absconded. In the Piscean age, that connection was used against us and we were disconnected, the illusion of separation. And of course, that's going to happen. Say if you're burned at a stake, even if you did nothing wrong, who you are, they're saying who you are is wrong. And you're going to kind of buy into that, And so we all have this kind of, in our collective, this subconscious, and maybe conscious, very palpable in some cases, shame that just doesn't really make sense. And it's bubbling up to the surface with that Mercury retrograde. And now we have to integrate what's been coming up for healing with this Venus and Sun conjunction. Neptune trine the North Node exact is saying, because the North Node, so Neptune represents the past, right? But it also represents that spiritual connection, but it represents also the distortions that came along with the Piscean age. And the North Node in Cancer is about nurturing ourselves into something new and dreaming a new dream, because Neptune is our dreams, our visions, our fantasy, the collective consciousness, right? And it's like, well, we really got to dream something new, but we are so busy being stuck cleaning up the past, which we got to do. And then you're so busy cleaning up all this past. And if those past stories don't have any bearing on the future, like they just don't fit the Aquarian age, it's like a whole different deal, then we don't know who we are, right? And it's just this confusing place. So it's quite a powerful energy to have the Sun and Venus together and Neptune in this exact trine to the North Node, saying we got to integrate, we got to heal, we got to nurture ourselves, we got to slow down, we got to find this place of peace within ourselves and allow ourselves to integrate and adjust and dream something new and dream a new dream. And it's almost like we're being given the keys to the kingdom right now. And it's like, is the kingdom going to come out of our old stories and the same old stuff recreated again and again? The universe is trying to get us out of this trap, right? And it's like, no, we got to think outside of the box. But outside of the box is a little scary, because the box has been there for so long. And even though it's not necessarily true and real to who we really are, it's some sort of a structure to keep us on the planet, keep us, keep us, able to function in our daily life, right? The deal with the Aquarian age and these new energies is that we need a whole new structure, right? And you can't take this old structure and kind of like repair it and put Band-Aids on it, it's not going to work. The whole thing, this is the Pluto-Uranus energy that started back in 2000, or 20, it started back in 2011. And so we're breaking down these old parts of our structures of our reality, which is also the structures of our mental construct, And Pluto and Uranus says it's a revolution, and it's a revolution to break down the old and build something new. And we're in that weird place in our psyche right now. And it's like trying to grasp and get a sense of who we are through the rubble, and yet that feeling of like free fall and what's the point? And I have no idea how do I get up and go through my day and do all this stuff when I have no idea what I'm here for. And just deep stuff coming up. This is good. This is like means you're doing it. You're on track with the universe. You're doing the work. You're preparing for this unknown new. But, we are in this place of like, there's the unknown new is bringing just as much anxiety as the old fears and anxieties that are programmed from the past. And And so we're just kind of like, can I just stay right here in the middle? And, you know, actually there's a really cool gift in that. And I think that's part of the gift of this full moon in Aquarius, is this kind of still point energy. Like, okay, I can't go back, I can't go forward, but I can be right here. And this is actually the only time there is. And maybe this weird time is leading us to this place of like grabbing a hold of our sense of self, right? So our true self, the true essence of who we really are, is a spiritual component that has gone with us throughout time. And so it doesn't exist in time. It's not attached to time, you know, and all of our anxieties and insecurities really go back to our relationship to time, you know, like how to get out of the past and move into the future, right? But we're being pushed into a place outside of time, which is interesting because there are a lot of energies around this moving our spiritual ascension. You know, as we move into fifth dimensional energies, there's a whole different relationship to time, like a completely different relationship to time. It's actually in a circle and concentric circles, not a line, you know? And so maybe that's partly what's trying to happen for us right now, is like you're so overwhelmed by the past and the future that you have to go into the now, because that's the only place that this true self exists. You know, if you want to get a hold of your true self, it's not in those past stories, and it's not in your longings or desires for the future. That's not who you are. You're right here. And so we're kind of being pushed deep into the still point energy, which could really work for us as far as this integration and timeline alignment, availability, opportunity for this Aquarius full moon. And and it goes right along with the master builder number, because the master builder is building something unknown. It needs a different type of foundation, needs a different type of preparation, needs a different type of materials. And we're pretty clueless on that. I mean, we do. Part of ourselves knows these things, right? I mean, this is why we're here, because we have a memory of how to work with our higher technological abilities within our own body and the higher technology that's available to us in the world that we haven't been told about. So it's part of the reason why we've chosen to be here on the planet through this experience. And yet our conscious mind is totally clueless, you know? And so we kind of have to give it up to this higher part of ourselves and that true part of ourselves. And we can only really find that in the moment. So that'll be a really great energy. I hope you can join me for this live activation. It's going to be at 1 o'clock Mountain Time in the afternoon on the 14th, the day before this full moon in Aquarius. We can just really set our vibration and encode the energies. If you can't make the live activation, go ahead and just catch the replay. Your intention to join is puts your energy into the mix. And so the words come to you in the way that you can receive, and the images and stuff like that can speak more directly to you by bringing your intention to join this event. And then you can just catch the replay if you can't make it at the live time. So that's Wednesday, the 14th at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. That would be noon on the West Coast, and that would be 3 p.m. on the East Coast. So yeah, really powerful energy. You know, the thing I didn't talk about with this full moon yet, as far as today, is this one thing that kind of brings it all together, is that one of the things we're really feeling for this full moon is Mercury in this square with Uranus. And it's interesting because we had that big shift yesterday, Mercury going into Leo, Jupiter turning direct, but Uranus took a retrograde. And that's what's bringing us back into this feeling of being suspended in time. And it's interesting that now Mercury finally comes in to this square with Uranus that it almost made it into right before it turned retrograde. And so it's like we have been suspended in time. We needed a wrinkle. we needed a wrinkle to go back and like cruise around in the ripples of the water, so to speak, of time, in order to prepare for this next chapter. And that is, so it's like bookends on this Mercury retrograde season, and it's a huge energy, but it's also bringing this, like, what is keeping you from moving into the future? And Mercury, though, it's trying to understand with our conceptual reality. So a massive mental shift is available for us that we started back when Mercury turned retrograde at the beginning of July. And it's kind of like, because it's like we're trying to shift, but we've got all this old, the machinery. We're working with old ancient machinery. It's all dusty, and it's like it's jammed up, and we're trying to like cram it in, to move it, start the machine moving again. So we're just kind of sorting through all this, and Mercury says, what needs to shift in your conceptual reality, your idea of the world, in order for you to move into the future? And where's the wall that you're coming up against? So we're looking at patterns of belief systems that it's kind of like, but it's kind of cool because you've been working on this already for the last couple months, but now it's like being revealed in like a way you can receive it in your mind, and it always does feel a little bit better when things make sense. So just keep open to that. That's a big thing for this full moon. Whenever Mercury and Uranus interact, our higher mind, lower mind, there's a real great energy for downloads and information coming in. And this has everything to do with what needs to shift in your perspective for you to turn that corner and move into the new. So it's great because we need this clarity to help support this integration and this coming back into wholeness. But it's a pretty interesting energy, again, keeping us feeling suspended into time. But Mercury's moving into new territory, Jupiter's moving into new going to be moving into new territory. And so, the tide has turned, but we're still kind of, haven't quite gotten the momentum back. And that's good because the momentum is bringing a lot of anxiety, and it's funny because it's like for a whole year, everybody's been asking for things to just move, remember that Mars retrograde last year? And it's like, yeah, it's stuck and gummed up and the old machinery. And then, Pluto is like, just get rid of it. Just get rid of the machinery and start brand new, something totally new. And that's really the whole Pluto-Uranus activation that started in 2001. And we're just now seeing the effects of that. Or 2011, I mean, keep getting that mixed up. And so I hope you can join me for this live activation where we can ground out, integrate, get on our, adjust our vibration, get some clarity on what this has all been about, and kind of tuck our feathers in for the next part of the journey, because we really are moving in. I mean, this is a big marker, this 22-degree full moon Aquarius, saying, yeah, Aquarian age is actually happening, right? Everybody's been talking about it happening, but it's actually happening. But it's really, and as we move into 2021, at the end of 2020, when Jupiter and Saturn together move into Aquarius, that is really the marker. And we've got a year and a half here of this 2020 astrology continuing to break down the old guard within us. This is the programming and concepts and everything we've been told about our world and about ourselves that aren't true. And so it's intense, but we're in it and we're moving through and we're doing, you're doing great. You're doing it just right. And so thanks for showing up and being a part of this together. We're so much more powerful together in our bringing understanding and clarity and support with our soul groups. And that's, of course, always a big part of the activations, to connect on another level with our soul group, invite them into our life. And so it's a potent and powerful time, and I'm glad we're here together. So thanks so much for following and liking and sharing and subscribing. And I look forward to seeing you at the live activation or the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.